Hello, my fellow info warriors. I have very exciting news for you from the front lines in Switzerland. The Bilderberg group is extremely angry, according to our inside sources via Jim Tucker and others, that there is so much alternative media outside of the compound they're meeting in, guarded by Swiss police in St. Moritz. They're extremely upset that the Congress is waking up to the fact that President Obama launched a unilateral war in Libya without consulting Congress. They also are very intent on expanding the regional destabilization in the Middle East ahead of a larger war they hope to start with Iran. Also, Tucker has revealed that Rupert Murdoch, who's a Davos, Switzerland attendee, and that's basically a public Bilderberg group meeting, has been approached by Etienne Davignon and others, the leaders of Bilderberg, asking him to work with other U.S. corporate chiefs to try to order their newspapers, magazines, and TV stations to not cover Bilderberg, and that Rupert Murdoch basically said that that was impossible to be able to carry out. Remember, if you go back 35 years ago when Tucker was first covering it, the mainstream media said it did not exist and that he was insane. Just 3.5 years ago, the New York Times said that I was insane and was not covering the Chantilly meeting that Obama and Hillary and others were attending. So their wall of disinformation has basically completely collapsed. And just a few years ago, there was still a blockade on this information here in the United States, but now it's in CNBC, BBC. The Drudge Report is leading the way in giving full spectrum coverage of what's happening at Bilderberg 2011 from the London Guardian, Infowars.com, and CNBC. Bilderberg is outraged. They are depressed. They set up the European Union. Bilderberg admits that they were instrumental in doing that as a receivership arm to take over European countries and then basically bankrupt them and then expand the EU into Eastern Europe. All of that is in trouble because the Germans and others are balking at giving them more bailouts, which again really aren't bailouts. That's the predator basically taking down their prey, and the nation states are going, this money doesn't go to Greece. This debt isn't owed by the people in Greece predominantly. It's owed by you. You created these derivatives. Then you hold us hostage and say, give us trillions more, we'll implode the economy. You're already imploding it, so go ahead and do it. So they're very, very upset. They want to continue to drive up oil prices and expand the recession, as they call it, really a depression. In their thought, they're planning on blaming high oil prices on the Arabs and finally Saudi Arabia, and believe that that will lead towards support in the West to an attack on Saudi Arabia and Iran. They want to overthrow Saudi Arabia internally, but physically attack Iran. There was also a NATO meeting in France the day before Bilderberg started that was used as a cover for Western officials to meet. Hillary, of course, as she always is on vacation in Europe at the time of Bilderberg, and she's been fined before under the Logan Act back in the mid-90s, $300,000+ for criminally attending and setting policy at the meeting. So now she keeps a really low profile and sneaks in. We caught that on video and confirmed she was there back in 2006 when they took her diplomatic car and brought it into the underground parking garage. One of the most exciting developments is that the Swiss Prime Minister has come out and criticized Bilderberg and said that it's bad that they're meeting there in their country and that the group is against the sovereignty of nations and is basically an enemy of the Swiss. And that is confirmed to be in the big Swiss papers. Also, the equivalent of one of their members of Congress has come out and called for Henry Kissinger's arrest under the arrest warrant that's been issued by France if they can get their hands on him while he's at Bilderberg Group. But the police don't really care what members of their own government say. They're busy there protecting Henry Kissinger from those evil reporters. If you want to learn a lot more about their agenda, we have a report at Infowars.com that details it, breaking secret Bilderberg agenda leaked by Mole. And we've got another piece coming out tomorrow with even more intel. One of the big things we got from our Bilderberg Mole is a repeat of previous years, but we got more details this time. They are obsessed with austerity as a way to politically bankrupt populations so they can't travel, they can't protest. They're so busy living at subsistence level that they won't resist the tyrants. And that's a well-known tactic used in Asia, a well-known tactic used in Latin America. It's a very ancient tactic that the Romans would use against vassal countries they controlled. There's open handbooks written by the Romans on how to keep people very poor and control them. So this ancient feudalistic serf system, basically the sharecropper system of owing your soul to the company store, is now being deployed. And the Bilderberg Group is outraged that even when they hide out in the mountains of Switzerland, that the people are coming knocking on their door angrily and in expletive-filled rants across the board. They are outraged that they can't bankrupt Europe and North America fast enough, and they say, we've got to raise gas prices. We've got to bankrupt these people so they cannot travel here. We have got to get these serfs under heel. And then you understand their carbon taxes, their neo-feudalistic system where they talk about post-industrial world and having to get authorization from them to be able to travel. It's just 21st century serfdom or feudalism, which was a system of keeping people poor so that you could control them. In closing, we have incredibly exciting news. We are seeing listeners and activists from Austria and Italy and Germany and France and of course, Switzerland and England and Ireland and Scotland calling us and Twittering and on YouTube, all saying that they're getting in their cars or they're getting on planes or they're getting on trains and they are going to that town of St. Moritz to protest the Bilderberg Group. People say, oh, protest, what's that do? Well, we're going directly to the front gates of the real power structure that own our politicians like baseball cards in a collection. And we're identifying them and bringing world attention to it. And that's the one thing these globalists have always feared. That's why they hide what they do. Well, if you want more on our continued coverage of Bilderberg 2011 and how these criminals are trying to set our agenda, you can follow it at Infowars.com and PrisonPilot.com. Thank you so much for watching, and please spread this video to everyone you know. Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds? Go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv for the latest headlines and cutting-edge information.